On today's episode of Tackle Talk, we have a giant guest as our friend, the one and only Dave Mercer, stops by the show. And no topic is off limits. We talk about the overall state of bass fishing today from all angles, including tournaments, fishing gear, opportunities, and attitude. We also talk about underwater video footage of both largemouth and smallmouth. We chat about the 2025 Elite Series season, Dave's favorite fishing gear, and more on today's episode of Tackle Talk.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Dance, and you're listening to Tackle Talk.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Tackle Talk podcast. And for those of you that always send me the messages of, hey, I wish that these episodes were longer than 30 or 40 minutes, guess what? You are in luck today, because today's episode is probably, 3 to 4 times the length of a normal Tackle Talk episode for good reason. It's not every day you get to sit down with one of the most recognizable, respected, positive, opinionated, fun, outgoing people in the sport. If there was a face of bass fishing, our guest today would probably be on the short list to serve in that role. And that is because today we have an almost 2-hour sit down with Mr. Dave Mercer. And Dave is one of those guys that I really respect because of how multifaceted he is. I might have said it in the episode, if so, forgive me, but he wears so many hats. He's obviously the MC and one of the faces of Bassmaster, but that role then leads to him almost becoming like the master of ceremonies for the sport of fishing in more ways than one. Because aside from being on stage with the mic for every Elite Series event, he's your MC for the entire Bassmaster Classic weigh-in, all 3 nights in the arena. I have seen him host the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame banquets, the Berkeley Science Symposium that I went down to Texas for a few years back. He's just a great ambassador for the sport of fishing in that way, but he's also a very talented producer from both the television and online media side of things, both with his Facts of Fishing TV show, the Facts of Fishing YouTube channel, and he's an extremely talented long-form conversation host, which is obviously evident through his work with the Mercer podcast, but then also the Officially Unofficial podcast that can be found over on the Bassmaster podcast channel that they started more recently. And then you've got, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars that he's raised through his Casting for a Cure nonprofit, and at the end of the day, the guy just has an extremely evident passion for fishing overall, and when you compare that with his work ethic and a motor that doesn't seem to stop ticking, you have one of the most successful and entertaining personalities in fishing. And so what do you talk about with someone like Dave when he stops by? Well, we talk about a little bit of everything today. We're obviously going to talk a little bit about the Elite Series season this past year. It's Tackle Talk, so we have to ask him about some of his favorite gear right now, but I also wanted to talk to him about something a little bit deeper and something that I think Dave brings a pretty unique viewpoint to, and that is the overall state of bass fishing right now. Where are we? Like, is it as bad as the internet comment sections make it seem? Or how does fishing gear of today stack up to the past? How does tournament coverage and opportunities seem now compared to the last few decades? And I think Dave is uniquely qualified to talk about some of those because he's seen every angle of the fishing industry for the last few decades. So with that, let's jump right in and toss it over to our full conversation with Dave Mercer. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is a pro fishing icon from Port Perry, Ontario. He is a 15-time Bassmaster Classic MC. He is a 10-time Outdoor Riders of Canada award winner. He is a Canadian Angler Hall of Fame inductee. He has broadcast for ESPN, ESPN2, NBC Sports, TSN, the Outdoor Channel, CBS, and FS1. He is a best-selling author. He is a Golden Moose award-winning videographer, Rick Amsbury Award of Excellence winning fishing personality, MC and angler. Tackle Talk, get loud for Dave Mercer.
Wow.
How'd I do?
You did very well. You did more research in that intro than I've done for the entire existence of my podcast. I feel horrible.
How do you remember all that stuff? Are you just a walking encyclopedia, or do you do like flashcards, or what do you do?
Some of it you just remember because initially I remembered everything, but we've added a lot of new anglers. I mean, the split was hell for me. But a lot of it, I'm a fan of the sport, just like you. Like, how do we all remember the stupid things that we remember? How do you remember every little point, that you've caught a fish off and stuff like that? So, but I do I feel like I have a lazy memory. Like I don't remember stuff. Like if you said write down a piece of paper what you remember about Brandon Palnick, I could come up with a list, but it would nowhere near be smooth. But when he's in front of me, my memory works. I don't know how to explain it. But one of the things I do to try and remember it all is I write stuff down. I find that really helps. Like if you can read it 1,000 times, but if you actually take a piece of pen, or text it into your phone, I just feel like that really helps you remember. At least it feels like I'm trying to do something.
Okay, so you have a voice, again, that I think is extremely recognizable in fishing in general. I'm jealous. I am very well aware that I sound like a middle schooler all the time, and I wish I had a voice that sounded halfway like some of your guys'. We asked Z when he was on, because he's got one of my favorite voices of all time, too. I was like, what's the secret? And his answer, I think, was along the lines of, well, I party hard. I, rip a couple darts every now and then, like that type of thing. What's the secret to the Dave Mercer voice?
I don't know. I yell at my kids a lot, I guess. I think that's how I keep it in shape. No, I don't know. I hate my voice, to be honest. Like whenever I hear a Bassmaster, like if I'm watching stuff, I watch Zona and Tommy, and I'm like, they're just, to me, they are so they're so good. I would love to hear them do Monday Night Football. I'd love to hear them do other things that I love outside of fishing. I think they're the perfect. Their voices are incredible, but I think they're the perfect combination of a partnership. Like Tommy is such an incredible straight man, but has such laser wit at times. He'll slide things in and Zona. Like, I mean, he's just, it's like Al Michaels and friggin' Pat McAfee came together. And that's what they're incredible. And I think what they do for our sport is great. So anyways, I watch Bassmaster shows and they'll come on and I'll see them and I'm like, this is so good. And then they'll play something I did and I'm like, oh, it sounds so unprofessional.
I would love to see Tommy do the Masters. Can you imagine?
Gosh.
Oh,
so good.
Augusta with Tommy Sanders would be amazing. But
I think that'd be Tommy's dream.
Really?
Like Tommy loves golf. I think his dream would anyone's dream would be do the Masters. But I think Tommy, if Tommy could do anything, I think it would be the Masters.
So, gun to your head, then, if I make you trade voices with one of the anglers on the Elite Series right now, who has your favorite voice on the Elites?
Easy. Kyle Norsetter.
That's a good one.
The deepest voice on earth. Maybe lock that door and turn the lights down low. He's got that Josh Turner voice going.
That's a good choice. I think mine might be Lee Livesey.
Yeah, Lee.
I think it's the perfect opposite to what my voice is. Like, again, his yeah, went down there, just it's an intimidating, like you said, raspy, recognizable voice. I think that would probably be mine. But yeah, can you imagine if I hopped on Tackle Talk and just had Lee's voice?
if Lee called you and said you owed him money, you'd want to pay.
Oh yeah, he's one of the most intimidating people I've ever met. Yeah. I might cut this part out, but I'll tell you. So one of the most intimidating things I ever had to do was when I was down there helping with stuff at the Classic this year.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Which you were great at, by the way. You were very good.
I feel like not in my wheelhouse at all, definitely out of my comfort zone, but it was fun. It was a blast to be a part of, and to see all of the moving pieces behind the scenes that make that thing tick is... I know most people won't get the chance to see from back that angle, but it is mind-blowing how much goes into making the Bassmaster Classic the Classic. But it was Ronnie, I think, he asked me, because they were trying to get baits for the next day to show on live. And so he asked me, for a couple guys
from the angle.
Yeah, so I had to go up to Lee and be like, yo, I need your pink 6th Sense whale and your Morning Dawn jackhammer. And he looked at me, I thought he was going to punch me in the face. And I was like, yeah, again, probably not an easy thing to ask the guy that's in contention for the Classic. Can I have the bait you did well on today? No, he's not going to give it to me. What are you talking about? It was, yeah, I've never been more intimidated in my life. And I was like, okay, keep it. Good luck tomorrow.
Not only the bait that he caught him on, but the bait that he secretly ordered.
Yeah.
And
I was like, what do you
had
mean
them keep the information from one of the owners of the company so that that competitor, Ben Milliken, couldn't have it. Then somehow they did get it, him and Corey. I don't know. So there was even beef with the bait. Like, it wasn't like you were just...
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what they do to the new guys.
Oh, I know.
Welcome.
Thrown to the ringer.
Well, I think you were great at it. And I think you saying that it was out of your comfort zone just means you're a normal human. I think anybody that does anything at the Classic, you can't walk away from it and not feel like that was out of my comfort zone. Like, you know what I mean? Unless you're just like, maybe there's some people that are like, finally, I'm
serial killer. You're a psychopath. You're like, yeah, I love this. You're like, no, this is nerve-wracking for sure. Like, this is the holy grail of the sport that I love so much and I love watching, and definitely thankful to be a part of it. I think this is going to be fun because usually, and I'll give you some credit here, usually I tell people ahead of time when I try and, like, you know, say what time this will work and stuff. I'll give them an idea of like what we're going to talk about and where we're going to go. You know, consummate professional, we're just like, tell me the time, send me the Zoom link, I'm there. No idea what we're going to talk about today. No idea where we're going. You were just like, sign me up. So I appreciate that about you. Again, you're just a go with the flow type guy. And to your point, the last time we had you on, I think, I could be making this up, but I'd have to go back and listen. I'm pretty sure you said something along the lines of like, you know, hey, yeah, I work for Bassmaster, I have sponsors, I do all this stuff, but at the same point, I'm my own person. Like, I can go and talk about whatever I want to talk about. I can have my own opinions, you know, I can say what I want. And that's what I think is cool about you, and what I think is cool about, you know, our sport in general is like they do give people a pretty long leash. You don't have an NDA on, you know, the certain things you can and can't talk about on certain, you can be a normal human. And I think that's what makes these type of episodes a lot of fun, and we can have actual opinions and some conversations that I've been curious your take on a few of these. And I'm kind of curious to see where you go with some of these. So for starters, this is maybe the
First of all, before we get into it, let me just say this. That is one of the craziest, weirdest things. Like, there's this belief out there that, hey, he works for Bass. They tell him what to say. And listen, Bass is my boss. No different than anybody has a boss. You know, I work for them, but they never tell us what to say. Like, to the point that I've literally gone to multiple people, like during the beginning of the forward face sonar thing, and said, is there a company line? Like and they're like, just say what you believe. And I've tested it. Like, I can only speak for myself. I know Zona says a lot, you know, but they've never, ever, like, literally, I've never gotten in trouble for any of that. Like, that just doesn't even exist. It's so weird how people are like, yeah, well, he's only saying that because of whatever. So anyways, I've said that, but I guess now I have to prove it. Really not a smart thing to start this off with at all.
I will start you off in the realm of like, you know, nothing controversial at all. Just more like I'm curious where you take this. So I want to ask your opinion. You have been in fishing for, I don't know, 30 plus years now, probably on the industry side, like in some capacity. I want to know what your overall feelings of the state of bass fishing right now are. And I'll go into some different like subcategories here in a little bit, but just overall, I kind of want to give you the floor to start. You've been around it for a long time. How do you think we're doing? What are your overall thoughts on bass fishing in general right now?
Honestly, and people don't want to hear this, but I think there's so much good right now. Like, there really, really is. Like, if you look at in the history of mankind, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. There's one thing that's undefeated in the history of mankind. It's only one thing: youth. That is the one thing that has never been, it's undefeated. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You might be wiping the ass of somebody right now, a baby, that, guess what, can get you fired. I mean, let's hope your kid doesn't fire you. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But like, that's just like, it's weird. Like, the Classic and all of those things that I'm lucky enough to be part of, I always look at it like that, and I'm like, this is our time. And it's only a short section. Like bass has been here and evolved and everything's always changed, but you just get a little window. And when that window ends, like there'll be one day that I'll just be a guy in the crowd watching the classic. And you got to enjoy the moment that you have. But anyways, so what I'm saying is because youth is undefeated and there's more youth that are in let's strictly speak on competitive fishing. There's more youth in competitive fishing today than there ever has been in the history. Like I was a weirdo growing up. I had a picture of Hank Parker holding the Bassmaster Classic trophy above his head in my locker. It was a hummingbird ad. I had that in my locker when I was in high school. I was a freaking weirdo for having that. Now you look at how many high school kids and college kids and just the opportunities, the amount of people in the industry that would not have even existed as part of this industry without that. So I can't help but say that's a great thing, and that continues to grow. I think social media has been a great thing in many ways. Like you look at the doors that the Googans and that generation of YouTuber, Ben Milliken and different, tactical bassing and all these great, and I hate even naming anyone because all of a sudden I didn't name a bunch of people, but and which there's a lot because you could never, but I just look at all of what they've done and inspired youth that fishing's cool. And that's all good stuff. So I think that in many ways it's in a great state. I think that lots is going to change in the future. Lots has changed from the past. It's been continual change. That's why when people get crazy about rules and this is going to change this, we used to weigh in 15 fish and then 10 fish and then 7 fish and now it's 5 fish. I don't know what it'll be in. I don't know if we'll have weigh-ins in the future. I don't know. But I think that's all going to continue to evolve. Like the sport shouldn't look like what it looks like 10 years from now because it doesn't look like what it looked like 10 years before now. So I think there's so many. This is a long-winded answer, but I think in general things are good. I think there's I think on the streets things are good. I think you know what I mean. I think all businesses right now are kind of hitting a weird spot where things are kind of slowing down. People are starting to tighten their belts. But that's also another beautiful thing for fishing. In the history of fishing, it's been fairly recession proof as far as tackle sales and stuff. Because guess what? It's still a fairly cheap thing to do. It's as inexpensive as you want it to be. So the actual sport of fishing in that way, I think, is doing good.
So let's start on the tournament side, let's go down there. So
hard question to answer.
Yeah, it is because there's a ton of routes you can go with that. So if we want to break,
especially since you didn't send me pre-notes, which
no pre-notes,
very professional.
No. We just learned at the top of the show you don't use notes. So on the tournament side, I tend to agree with you. I think, and again, a lot smaller sample size here, obviously, but I mean, we've got to be in a great place. You have more fishing to consume than any time in the history of the world, bar none. You have the elites, you have extended coverage of the opens, you have the EQs, you have the BPT, you have the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals, the NPFL. There is so much live fishing to watch where, these people used to get 30 to 60 minutes of a, cut up, produced recap of these tournaments. And now I can watch 18 hours or whatever it is of uninterrupted live coverage of these for free, by the way. There's no paywall. Yeah. There's no Bassmaster Plus, right, that I have to subscribe to for $12.99 a month to be able to watch tournaments. Like, it's free, and you can consume more fishing than you physically have time to consume. So, that is super cool to me. I think people have no room to complain from a fan side. From a tournament angler side, I don't know. I can't speak to that. I don't know about, payouts and scheduling and, all that kind of stuff, rules and all of that. But from a fan, a person who just, when you boil it down to it, I am a guy who likes to fish and likes to watch people fish. And from that side of things, I don't know. I mean, you have every opportunity to consume as much fishing as you want. I don't know how you complain about that.
We're living in a time like in Trip Weldon's life. Trip Weldon still to this day remembers there used to be a number you would call, and Trip remembers this being amazing. Like, holy crap, I can get the info on the tournaments. So there was a Bassmaster number, and he still knows the number off by heart if you ask him for it. And he would call it, and there was a recorded message. Today, Basil Bacon is the leader with this much weight, and Guy Aker is in second with this much weight, and Rick Clunn in third. And it was just, and he thought that was state of the art. In Trip Weldon's life, we've gone from that to endless live. Like, there's live of live.
Yeah.
There's live, like, there's every moment of an angler's life. Like, at some point within a few hours of takeoff, there's live you can watch. You know what I mean? Whether it's Mercer in the morning, whether it's what they're doing, like, then it goes into the back. Like, it's unlimited, but it's weird. In some ways, I wonder, in some ways, it's too much for some people. Like, in some ways, stuff is more special. Like, if you think back to when it was just, let's move past the TNN days, because that show was fabled. But me and Bob Cobb have laughed about, like, how little of the real action it actually showed. Like, it didn't show a lot. Like, a lot of it was weighing and just a flash of this and that, and it was great for its time. But go back to when the classic was 2 hours a day. Like, I feel like in some ways, because everyone ran to their TV for those 2 hours. Now it's 8 hours of it's very hard. It's changed that way. It's very hard to follow. And then you put two other leagues on top of that, and it's just like, it's force feeding, you know? So I always wonder about that. And I think for the anglers, like you mentioned, the anglers, I think this is a tough thing for some people to hear. But I think the success of the sport is also what makes their job really hard. And in some ways harder than it's ever been. It's easier to get on a tour today than it ever has been statistically in history. But it might be harder to financially support that, because if you look at the 90s, there was 100, the early 2000s, there was 150 pro anglers. And that's in both tours. That's FLW and Bass. 75 on each side, let's say, or 100 or 50, whatever it is. I'm talking like full-timers. And now you have, I don't know how many hundreds. Like, if you take the elites, the Bass Pro Tour, the NPFL, the Invitationals, the Opens, and there's more. And then there's guys like Todd Castledine who fish regionally, and you just watch the amount of people that are chewing off this pie. There's a lot of people eating. And that's what I think makes it really hard.
Yeah, I guess it's a good point, because you still are all competing for the same handful of sponsors. You're competing for the same handful of boat manufacturers and everything. And now you've got 1,200 mouths to feed or to decide who to feed to, versus back in the day, it was a group of 100. And yeah, you could have a bigger slice of that pie. That's an interesting thing to think about. I also think it's interesting to think about, maybe more isn't always a good thing in terms of amount of content to consume. Like, I'm guilty of this sometimes, and I work. I have a job where I can't watch Thursday and Friday, and you know what I mean? And then you feel like you're out of the loop, and then you're trying to follow along Saturday, and I get up on Saturday and we're referencing things from Thursday and Friday that I didn't get to see, and I'm not sure what's going on, and I can't follow the storylines, versus if it was a 2-hour thing, well, I can make that appointment television and I can consume that better. So it is an interesting conundrum for sure. Like, when is too much? Like, is too much to follow hurting it at some point? I don't know. That's a good question to think about.
I don't think it's a tap you can turn off. I think it's just what's happening. But if you think of the experience before, when it was 2 hours, you could talk to your buddy, and your buddy saw every single part of the show you saw. So, you think of like just some of those cool promos and stuff that they would cut around stuff. And let's be honest, it was a show. It was a cut show. Like, I think people way underestimate how much different live is versus a show. Like, if you take one of the most iconic moments, and Takahiro winning the Bassmaster Classic, that was such an epic moment. It took about 30 minutes for what happened to happen with him. On TV, it played out like it was 10 minutes. So right away, it's much faster. When you see him, you're actually seeing, the pressure build in him, just like when you watch a TV show. You're seeing tights of his hands, tights of his eyes, tights of his head darting or whatever, and that's building.
You can craft the story. Yeah,
one.
you can manipulate, not manipulate, it's probably not the right word, but you know what I mean. You can use the
Well,
right shots to build up the arc of this moment.
You're making a TV show, right? Like that's what you're. And now we're covering a live event, so it's going to be a lot more tight on the end. It's just going to be the back of an angler. It's going to be whatever that angler gives you. It's not going to be all those tight. And I don't think anyone stops to think about that. People are like, forward facing sonar. We just don't see you don't see the angler in half the stuff because, and the easy answer would be like, well, put more cameras on and cover them from another boat, which is a great result. But if Bass put 10 more cameras on the water, what fan is going to want them to cover a guy's hands when it could cover another entire angler? It's just, I think we have to be realistic. And that's just my thoughts, and I spent a lot of time thinking about it.
Okay, so let's pivot then. Let's go to a different subsection of fishing gear and fishing tackle. Again, you've been around, you've seen iterations of everything from every company. You've, probably had more fishing gear in your hand than I probably will in my entire life. Where do you think that we are on the gear side in the grand scheme of things?
I think it's a really incredible time. I think we have a lot of incredible stuff coming out. I think it's a weird question to answer because I think some years, like I look at ICAST this year and I'm like, yeah, everybody just shoved skirt material through a soft plastic and was like, ta-da! It's fuzzy. What Joya throws. Yeah. So I think there's that part of the thing where everybody's kind of knocking each other off, but I don't think that they are. Like, I mean, they're making it's business, whether you like it or not. It's in the golf world. If somebody comes out with a different kind of ball that has different holes and that goes further, guess what? They're all going to have their version within a year. They have to take their piece of the market. And I weirdly think, and this is just a belief of mine, but I weirdly think that live bass fishing has changed the tackle industry. If you think about it, there was in the past you had more companies that were in sections. You know what I mean? Strike King used to be a spinnerbait and jig company. Berkeley was a soft plastic company. If you look at both those two different companies, they're an everything company now. There's not too many holes. But I think that the fact that anglers were showing, because for years we had anglers saying, I caught them on this, but they didn't. And now they can't do that anymore. And I think it's made tackle companies have to, they have to have their minnow. They have to have their, whatever the bait du jour. They have to have their swim bait. I mean, everybody has a swim bait right now. I mean, everybody knows what swim bait it started with, so it's so I think that there's a lot of that going on, but I think in general it's in a good spot where it amazes me we're still seeing innovation. Like I feel like 15 years ago, if you'd have said, what's it going to be? I'm like, well, what else can they do? I mean, the line's as sensitive as it comes. It's so I think there's a real shot into that innovation. I think we're going to see it in the next 10 years. Like we have a pack of hungry wolves right now, and they're all those young anglers. And dude, they all want to put their stamp on it. They all want to make their hack attack jig. And the hack attack jig's only what it is because of what it did and what Hackney. So we're going to see a lot of really cool innovation. And I feel like right now that it's happening. They just don't show a lot of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they all hoard together and don't give it out, but it's coming.
Yeah, I think this is one of the
weirdest answer.
Well, no, I think it's good because it's a nuanced question to try and ask. Because I definitely am like, this is one I sit on the fence pretty evenly on. Like on one hand, cry me a river with knockoff talk and all of that. I've been on record for years at this point being like, do not complain to me that you have more choices as a consumer. Boo-hoo. All right, now there are 30 of these options for a harnessed swim bait. All right, pick your favorite and go out and go fish. You have options now. As a consumer, that's great because options drive innovation, they drive price down, they drive more availability, they push people's, versus one company saying, I own this, no one else can do it, I can sit back and just coast on it. No, nobody can be comfortable anymore. Everybody's kind of pushing each other. So I think on one hand, like that's a good thing. If there's an obscure Japanese bait that cost, $87 and is never in any tackle store I've ever been in, I'm never going to get to throw that. But if a big company comes along and says, I can make that for $14 and I can put it at the store right down the street from you, well, guess what? Now I can go catch fish with it. So I think there's a little bit of that. Everything in the world is knockoff of everything. I guarantee people are listening to this on their, Amazon phone charger and their we all use knockoffs. I don't eat Cheerios. I eat Aldios, like all of those type of things. So on that side, I get it. On the other side, on the true innovation side, sometimes I do get a little discouraged because when is the last time you saw something just blow your mind in terms of a completely new, like a chatterbait or something, right? Something comes out and you're like, oh my gosh, like it is a lot of filling of the product lines right now, I feel like. To your point, right? Every company has to be everything to everybody. So I need a buzzbait, a popper, a frog, a soft plastic swim bait, a worm, and it's a lot of that. I need a straight tail minnow. I got to be able to say, if you like fishing, whatever it is, Strike King, well then I need you to make me your one-stop shop. I don't want you to buy just certain things through Strike King and then have to go other places for your other stuff. I got to fill my product line. So we're seeing a lot of that right now, and at ICAST you can see that pretty clearly. Hopefully, and I hope you're right, I hope once we get to this point where people have filled those product lines a little bit, then we start to see the innovation come in, because I'll give a good example. One of the weirdest baits I saw at ICAST this year was that Spro and KGB K-Rig, right? 3 stacked.
The triple rig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a weird looking thing. And when I saw it, I said,
I thought that was innovation, though.
I was like, what the hell is that? And that's what I want to say when I see new baits.
And it never won crap, did it?
No. But that was one of the few things you walk around and you're like, I've never seen that before. Awesome. Does it work? I don't know, but it's new. It's cool. I want more of that. I want more things that make me say, what the heck is that thing? Versus saying, oh, great, X company came out with another straight tail minnow. So I want to see more of that. I want to see people take risks, and I understand when you got private equity or whatever behind you, risk aversion comes with that, and you don't want to, you want to stay in your lane, you want to be profitable, all this kind of stuff. I get it. But at the same point, I would like to see more people stick their neck out and try and come up with shapes we've never seen before, ways to make vibration we've never seen before. If you dropped an alien on planet Earth and you said, make something, they would have a completely different set of eyes than what we're used to seeing of like what a spinnerbait looks like.
How can you say that in a time where we just talked about, like, I know it's getting knocked off by everybody, but the dice in general, that's all new. Like, that is a total different way of, had you seen that anywhere? Like, it's
that's
so
probably
new,
a fair
people
point.
don't even know what the hell it is.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's one of the newer routes that I've seen people go down. Absolutely. More of that, I think, is what I would like to see. Like, just a true push of the envelope versus small tweaks on things. As a tackle nerd, I want to go to somewhere like ICAST and see 12 different things that are like a fuzzy dice I've never seen before, or a K-rig or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's only going to get more and more. Like, I think, like, literally, if we're being honest, forward-facing sonar has turned fishing into sight fishing all year. That's literally... So the more things you can shake in front of a fish, it's going to literally, baits are going to turn into cat toys.
Yeah.
That's literally the future. But I think that if you're not against that, there's going to be a lot of really cool things that we see from that. But I also think, like, when you say, when's the last time you saw a chatterbait? That's a generational. If you were comparing that to an athlete, that is a generational athlete. That is a bladed jig. The first time I saw it at ICAST, that guy was showing it to me in a swimming pool. Me and a bunch of different pros saw it, and we're like, that thing makes too much vibration. It'll never work. A few months later, some people listened to him, and we all were begging. Like, it's an amazing bait. But I think there's innovation out there. I'm trying to think if there's got to be more, but there is few different things. But there is a lot of got to fill the pegs, right?
And COVID hurt that a little bit too. But there's going to be a time where we can't use that as an excuse anymore. Like, it was 5 years ago, it was 6 years ago. Yeah, I know we're coming out on the other side, and the money that we would have spent developing something in 2020 that would have came out in 2024 or 2025, well, that didn't happen. But at some point, we can't stop saying that, right? Like, the innovation has to kick back up again, and new product development has to show its actual fruits of its labor at some point.
Well, this is the part where I turn into a cheesy sponsor pro and say, stay tuned.
Okay.
There is
like
something coming that, I mean, it's pretty impressive. There is something that I think is very impressive that's coming. That's all I'll say.
Okay. I like that.
Because I actually did sign an NDA about that.
Okay, well, good. If it's good enough for an NDA, I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to, like, you briefly touched on this a little bit, but just opportunities in fishing, like, compared to what they were. Because this is something where I think, I mean, you want to talk about crazy difference from 10, 15 years ago. I mean, 15 years ago, if you wanted to make a living in pro fishing, you probably had to be a pro angler, you had to, be one of the 5 commentary people or a guide or work for a bait company, and that was it. And now you have people who are making livings as fishing YouTubers, as fishing podcasters, as influencers, and like those, that wasn't even a thing. That had never even thought of 15 years ago. Yeah. So how do you feel about the opportunities that are in fishing today?
I hate to do this because I'm going to feel like I feel like everything I'm answering, I'm pretty positive of for the most part.
That's why we like you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't want it to seem like I'm just always, it's sunny, but it is always sunny in that world. Like, you look at the amount of people that are freaking, like, everything. Like, you go through the agencies like Luke Stoner that works for, Dynamic and they came from college fishing. They all, like, these were like one of the hardest things in the world was to find your way into fishing. Like, I remember going to ICAST and going to classics where, nobody knew who I was. And you're just like, it was hard to break in. Now it feels like there's this, companies are embracing these young people and they're absorbing them, and we need it. Like, really, if you look at a lot of the angling community, there's kind of a gap in some situations where they need some youth in it. So I think it's easier now to, I mean, you can literally pick up your phone and be on a platform tonight, live, like, that is unfathomable. And I think it's such an important part of a pro angler. Like, it's funny, I had, he was on everybody's podcast recently. I recorded with him a week earlier, but I didn't put it out because he was on so many friggin' podcasts.
Like, I gotta wait, yeah.
Laker Howell last week was on everybody's podcast, literally. But me and him talked about something that I think was so cool that he admitted it. I asked him how he's so good on camera. Like, he's really great on camera in every way, like informative, but also entertaining. And you know what I mean? Like, he really is a 5-star recruit in any other sport. And I said, did being on camera, did it come natural, or did you have to work on it? And he said, I spent hours in my garage talking to my phone. He said, I remember for one particular bait, it took me 150 takes to be happy with some, just holding the bait up. And he said he sat in his garage and just did that over and over again and trained to be good at that part of the sport, which is, to me, it's amazing that you can do that, number one, but it's also, shows how important that is now for the future. Like, you could be the quiet guy in the past. I don't think you can be 10 years from now.
Yeah. This generation grew up in front of a camera. Now, is there, we can go down the route of like too much of a good thing again too, though. Is there a world where, like, I mean, we've hit it a couple times, but ICAST is a great example. 10, 15 years ago, that was an industry show, and now it's 15-year-olds running around asking pros to do TikTok dances, and like, that's where we're at. And
they're doing them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the best part.
They're like, sure, I'm at my sponsor booth, I have to do what these people say. Yeah, but is there a problem, or does there get to be a problem where back in the day you used to have to like prove for your credentials? Like, you used to have to get a job writing for a magazine that was, established, and, there had been some, like, you paid your dues, or you work to get there and somebody approved you to be there. Where now it's like, if I have a phone, now I am the media. I can film myself, and people online can take my opinion just as, importantly as they can take your opinion, even though we're two very different in terms of credibility. Like, does that bother you sometimes?
It's, I think, I remember a thing I saw, that the thing about social media is it gives everybody a voice. The good thing about social media, it gives everyone a voice, but the bad thing about social media, it gives everyone a voice. Like, there is some, like, I'll remove it from this industry. So I'm looking at a vehicle right now. I need to purchase a new truck, and I've looked at some different brands, and there's a couple that I kind of narrowed down to, and I went on YouTube to like see if there's an issue with this engine or whatever. And dude, I found just as many that said that this was the worst engine ever made in the history of mankind as I did that said, this is the greatest thing. This is an engineering genius. Like, so I just feel like there's some of that the world is full of right now. And I think it's tough to hear there's some people in this world that don't give a crap about this industry, and they hide themselves behind being truth tellers, and they say, I'm telling the truth that nobody will tell you, and it's not the truth. And a lot of times it is made up. Like, we live in a time where you get rewarded for tearing stuff down, and I think that's where I have a problem with it. But I also feel like that guy's always existed. The difference is now he has a platform. Before, it was a crazy guy in the back of a tackle store that would just tell you. Now that person is a platform, and I think there's a platform for everybody. But I think you'd lie if you said you don't get frustrated with it sometimes. But I also, in my own personal life, I've learned to not let that stuff bother you. I mean, I could argue with 12-year-olds online all day about whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they're 12, their answer's this long. No other adult has that much time to put that and go out of their way to use big words. But but I also think, like, those are people that are passionate about the sports. There's a good side to it too. But yeah, it gets frustrating at times, definitely.
Well, you said you felt bad that everything had been rosy up to this point. So my last point was going to be just overall attitude in bass fishing. And this is something that, again, I think, depending on where you live, like, do you live online? Do you live in the real world and see real people and go out and touch grass? You could have a very different answer to this. But in your life in fishing, has the attitude overall ever been worse than this?
Never, ever. Ever, none of this ever existed in the history of the sport. A fellow angler, whether they fly fish, whether they bass fish, whether they trout fish, they're an angler.
Well,
like,
fly fishing. All right, let's not get crazy.
I mean, there is always the fly anglers, but you know what I'm saying? But even, like, I think of when I was a kid, and I remember being on, like, school trips, and you're driving in a bus, and, like, I think most people that fish would always be like, oh, there's water. Like, whether it's a stream or it's a pond with some lily pads in it. And if I saw somebody fishing, I was like, oh, that guy's like me. You know what I mean? I would talk to that guy. And I think that the fact that we have somehow got into this world where we have people battling against each other, whether you love or hate forward-facing sonar, the fellow angler is not your enemy. You shouldn't demean what they do because it's not the way you like it. Because guess what? Everything is that way. I mean, forward-facing sonar gives them access to fish that they never had access before. Well, guess what? So did freaking braided line. Do you know how many fish you used to get on a frog and before braided line? About 10% of them you would land. And that was a good day. Like, it was just accepted that I'm going to lose the crap out of these fish. And then braided line came along, and then sharper hooks, then graphite rod, and graphite rods before that. And I know it's technology, so it's different. But again, it's not about the technology. To me, the fact that people are tearing each other down is gross, and it's not good for anyone. Like, if you really care about the sport, none of this is good for anybody. And I know it's easy to, you're right, it's not what I used to like. But guess what? Neither is music. I mean, I'm of the age now that there's celebrities that come on shows and I'm like, I don't know who that is. I accept that. And I think that's like a natural part of aging. Uh, it's not going to be the same as it was. But here's the, and I hate to go on a tirade, but here's the bottom line. It's exactly what it's always been to you. You still get that feeling when you fish. Don't let that noise bother you. Like, why would the fact that that boat over there is doing something bother you when you just want to throw a frog or you just want to throw a jig or you just want to watch a bobber? Like, none of that. That's the equivalent of people that are fishing from the shore with a float and a worm or minnow getting mad because some guy's across the lake in a bass boat. It's a, you can do the sport whatever way you want. So I would say that it's gross right now, that and I think that anglers got to think, because trust me, as a guy who hosts a podcast, I have guests and they say things like Carl Jacobson, for example, and I said it on the podcast. He made some comment and he jokingly said, Carl Jacobson cheated in the Bassmaster Classic. And a lot of times on my podcast, I'll take a quote and that'll be the title. And instantly I said, can I call the podcast that? Because if I call the podcast Carl Jacobson cheated in the Bassmaster Classic, it will get hundreds of thousands of plays. And Carl said no, of course, which I expected him to say no. I asked the question knowing he would say no. And I understand why. But that's just a weird thing that we live in right now, where just everybody, it's and they're drawn to it. Like, people are just, myself included, dude. I mean, I have to work to stay away from some of it, but that's the negative of it. I would say the attitude is really rough. But that being said, I go to Elite Series events, Pasquotank River, and there's thousands of people. I'm walking to my truck and people are like, thank you to the Bassmasters for coming here. You know, you go to the Classic, it's over. The whole city is over. You can't go to a restaurant without seeing a Bassmaster fan. But I think the online stuff makes it feel a lot worse than it is.
I 1000% agree. I think online is the worst, grossest time I've ever, been in anything. Like, I mean, it's just, you can have, and a great example, like Easton, at the Classic. How do you turn that into a negative? But give the internet 2.5 seconds and they will, and everybody will pile on, and it just becomes mob mentality, and it feeds our lowest desires to be around drama and just tear people down, and it's nasty. But on the flip side, when I go to an expo, I go to the Columbus Fishing Expo every year, set up for 3 days, have a table. It is the most positive, the most awesome experience ever. In person, I don't know if things have ever been better. And that is the frustrating part of the world we live in, is if you go out to an Elite Series event, to a BPT event, to a Classic, to a local expo, to whatever, it's incredible. The people you meet out are incredible. It's an awesome community that people have built, and with it getting more popular and more youth and everything, like, it's just getting stronger. But then if you live online for any amount of time a day, you would think that fishing is dying, the world is burning down, and the tournament circuits are the actual devil. And I don't get it. I don't understand how we bridge that gap between reality and online, and what it takes at some point for it to either reverse or even itself out. Like, I don't know. Right now, we're on the trajectory where it's just getting worse and nothing's getting better. And I don't know what happens to change that.
I don't know. I don't know either. I feel like I feel like it's on all of us to change it, to be honest. Like, I mean, ultimately, you are what you eat. And if we're going to continue to eat that, we're going to be that. Like, you look at, there's so many bright things that are happening too. Like, you look at Carl Jacobson, what he's doing with his, bonus check for people doing good things at tournaments and stuff. That's all great stuff, but it gets zero media. It gets zero media. Like, I'm going to call something out right now, and we're trying to set up a podcast right now. But here's something that blows me away. Trip Berlinski, the
Okay.
kid who won
Oh, yeah.
the
That
collegiate thing.
donated his money. Yeah.
He is, whatever, 19 years old, I think, 18, 19 years old. He's going to the Bassmaster Classic. He won $7,500. Do you remember what $7,500 was like when you were that age? I mean, that is, you're rich.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, at that
literally-
age, it is life-changing money. Like, it is. Yeah.
And before he even left weigh-in, this isn't something he did afterwards. Like, literally, he got the check and said, I want to make a donation. He donated that check back to that community because that was one of the communities that got devastated, flooded with the hurricane. And he's a kid, and he did that. And we're doing a podcast here, and I don't know when this comes up, but it'll probably be around the same time. But it blows me away in the most competitive podcast world. I mean, I joked about Laker Howell being on everyone's podcast, and he literally was. Tripp has been on 0 podcasts that I've seen. 0. So we are what we eat. Like, and trust me, I'm going to do that podcast, and I think it's going to be great. But I totally accept the fact that I know that it probably won't be a huge traffic podcast. Like, how messed up is that? I'm going to interview a kid that's going to the Classic that donated $7,500. That, I mean, think about your kid. Would your kid donate $7,500? Be honest. Like, really, do you know for a fact that your kid would think about that at this? And maybe your kid would. And congrats, because you've got a good kid. But most people wouldn't. Most people would maybe give a little or something. What that kid did was tremendous. And the fact that that speaks volumes. Like, I mean, if you fart at a Bassmaster event, a podcast is going to call you and ask you to be on. Literally, if somebody did. You imagine? Like, I think that'd be a great thing.
Fartgate?
Matt Robertson?
Fartgate would be electric.
There was a kid in the tournament earlier this year. I don't know who it was, but I remember somebody released a video. Did he just drop? I mean, it might have been Baxter or somebody released a video.
I did see this. Yeah, Kevin did. Yeah. Like, did he just rip on live? And he did. Yeah, 100%. You could hear it. Yeah,
it happens.
But
I do it on stage all the time.
What you're saying, I fight this battle every week, and I've fought it every week for 6 years at this point doing this show, which is not getting dragged into the mud and chasing what will get the clicks versus the conversations that I want to have or that should be had. Like, it's the same thing. I can drop an episode, tomorrow about like the most in-depth science-related, biology episode, whatever. But if I, put out a podcast or whatever that was titled so-and-so cheated or whatever, it goes nuts. And it's just, I know we talked about this before we started recording again, but it was, how we both try not to get dragged into the mud, and how do you avoid that, because the temptation is real, the incentive structure is real, but at the same point, I think that's what I appreciate about you. It's what I appreciate about certain people in this industry, is like they do have an ability to set aside the chase of whatever the carrot on the stick is and say, no, I want to be positive. I want to have conversations that matter and put out content that matters. And I think eventually you hope that you look, forward in 10, 15, 20 years, that's the stuff that's consistent and rises to the top, even though there might be a flash in the pan for people that took the other route. That's my hope.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't, you go to bed at night feeling okay. Like, some of the people that are constantly in wars, like there's people online that are like, they're in war with somebody more than they're not in war. You know what I mean? Like, it's always like, guess who wronged me this time? And I'm at war with them.
I'm an adult. I have life to live. I have bills to pay. I can't fight with online people all day.
Yeah, it's weird to me that way. But we have to make it better, all of us. I mean, I say that to anglers all the time. I'm like, give more on camera, give more on when you see people. Like, give more. Like, And I think at the end of the day, you got to look at the mass populace. I mean, this is the weirdos. This is us. This is the hardcores that watch podcasts like this. Like if you're watching this podcast, you're one of us. You're a freaking weirdo. Like, because guess what? You fish
Yeah.
with a bunch of people that don't watch any of this. Like they're just not that into it, but they still fish and love fishing and they have no idea. Like when I've talked to friends from other walks of life and I tell them about some of the controversies in fishing, they're like, they joke about it. They're like, what people pissed off about now? Like it is, things are not that bad. So
Amen. Things are not that bad. Go outside. Go talk to real people. Yeah. Touch grass. It's pretty nice out there. Okay, ready for like a super hard right turn here and go somewhere completely different. So again, one of the things that I really like about what you do is obviously you wear a ton of hats, but I think one of the coolest hats you wear, I guess, not hat, I guess it could be scuba gear or whatever it is, but it's
mask.
Underwater videography, which I think is got to be one of the hardest things in the world to try and shoot, right? I mean, you're dealing with living things, you're in adverse conditions, they are traditionally skittish, they're not going to cooperate, they're not going to do what you want them to do, and I really enjoy, as just someone who, again, likes fishing baits, likes watching bass eat fishing baits, you do some really awesome work underwater with the camera, and so a couple questions I have, I guess, for starters, and we talked a little bit about this the last time you were on, but I want to dive into the actual, pun intended, I guess, underwater side of things. For starters, when you're out there actually trying to record some of these cool clips that we see, which one's more cooperative? Are largemouth or smallmouth more cooperative to try and get the shot you actually want?
Generally smallmouth, to be honest. I mean, smallmouth are very inquisitive fish. Like I honestly believe you can go swim anywhere that has smallmouth bass, whether it be a river or a shoal on any one of your lakes. And if you go there and you kind of bang a few rocks together, you'll see them. I mean, sometimes depending on the water clarity, they're just right at the end, but they're very inquisitive. So by far smallmouth bass.
So like if you have a shot in your mind, you're like, ooh, I want to get, which I'm assuming you probably do, or do you just go out on there and shoot at random until you get something sick? I don't know. What I should start there. How do you approach it?
It's a bit of both. I mean, there's the stuff that I really love, just like the best days are just like, it's also what I love. Like I love, like I'm obsessed with it right now. Like it's getting in the way of my fishing, literally. Like I've swam more this year than I fished, and I'm like, I gotta catch some too, I guess.
Yeah.
But I love it that much. And my favorite days are just days where I can swim. Like when I go to, an island out in Lake Ontario, and I anchor my boat and just swim. Like I'll swim the whole, like the perimeter. Like it's stupid how far I'll swim, and you learn so much, and you see and it's kind of natural and free. Like it's it's cool because it feels like a kid. Like remember when you were a kid and you would go. It's weird as you get older, you stop doing fun things like flipping rocks over and seeing if there's crayfish under them. And guess what? If you're an adult and you do that, it feels good, just like it did when you were a kid. You don't know why, but you're discovering, right? Like I think so those are my favorite ones, but there's also a lot of setup stuff where like, hey, I want to try get a fish eating this bait, and I'm going to do it beside a dock, or I'm going to do whatever. And sometimes you just find a fish, and it's a lot of. I equate it to people say, how do you get a lot of the shots? And a lot of the shots is similar to how does somebody get a really good shot of a bald eagle? They just spend a lot of time, and that's what it is. Like it's. For every great shot, I mean, at times there's just like fishing. There's days where it's like they're on fire, and I've got to tie on baits because they're hitting crap. Like I have one clip that's funny, and you never hear the behind the scenes of stuff. But I've got one clip, a frog clip, and it does very well online because everybody bitches because I have a fluorocarbon or I have fluoro on the frog tied to the frog. The reason I have fluoro is because I'm shooting a crankbait and the fish are on fire, and I'm like throwing different things, and I'm like, tie on a frog, and then I got these awesome frog shots because the fish were just on fire. And I mean, I normally would have it on braid, but it really pisses people off that they can see the fluorocarbon. They're like, this idiot used fluoro. That's why, so you will have days like that. But a lot of times it's just setting up and spending time and being willing to be that weirdo that's waiting and waiting for it to happen. And half the time it happens and it's just off to the side of the camera, or half the time it happens and it's too close. But when it does happen and it's perfect, it's like a drug for me. I mean, I love it.
So give me a view of like if I'm in a drone looking down at how you're setting up these shots. I can't picture it in my mind. So like you want to get a shot of a largemouth hitting a frog or whatever. Like, are you in the water and you have a boat that's out there and you're saying, you pop up and you say, hey, right here, cast over here, and then you go back down and try and get, how do you set up a shot of an actual like cast, retrieve, and fish hitting the bait?
Every shot is different, literally. I mean, there's some that I'm in the water. There's some that I have a camera mounted in the water, and I set that camera up and let because after you make a mess of the water, like say for frog shots, I got a few really cool frog shots in slop this year. And how I did with that was I mounted the camera in an area that, there had been fish, there should be fish, and I left it there. And then I just when it's all settled, I just continuously threw the frog. And you got some blow ups, and some blow ups, like I said, were off to the side and stuff like that. So there's ones like that. There's ones where the camera's on a pole. A lot of them I'm in the water, and I'm just kind of off to the side, because that way you're more guaranteed to get the shot. Because you can't adjust things if a camera's mounted, or even if the camera's on a pole. Once you start moving it around, the water gets all stirred up and stuff. So literally every shot is different. But it really, the key to it is just be an idiot. Like it's funny because I mean, a lot of people are making underwater now, and I get in a weird spot where I'm like, oh, that's got really popular lately. And not that we invented it, but I mean, it was me and a few others. I would say that and I don't want to sound like that guy, but then I also remember, I'm like, yeah, but you're the idiot that loves it. That's the difference. It's like getting upset because there's more podcasts. Guess what? There's going to be more next year too in the year. But if you love it enough and you're willing to put your heart into it, guess what? The average length of a podcast, the existence of the average podcast is 7 episodes. So just relax and keep doing what you're doing. And that's kind of what I feel about the underwater stuff. But I love doing it. So that's the reason. Like when we first started doing underwater, I didn't shoot it. My camera guy shot it.
Okay, so you were casting or doing whatever, and he was under there?
Yeah. And I wanted us to get those shots, like we work as a great team all together. But it was like, it wasn't enough. Like you couldn't hire someone to shoot what I shoot because they'd stop.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, right.
Like if you look at how many shots I've shot, the average person would get a couple of eats and be like, we're good. I'm an idiot. Like how many dinners I've missed because guess what? They're just starting to bite now. It's no different. Like if you love it. So that's honestly why I think, I mean, there's a lot of better camera people. There's a lot of better, but there's not many people that are committed to be as stupid and spend copious amounts of their life getting bitten by mosquitoes and whatever else.
So, but if you're mounting a camera down there and you're trying to, let's stay with frog, you're trying to get a frog shot, how wide of a view is that, and how much can you zoom in and do whatever versus having to get that eat in the perfect like middle of frame? Are you using a GoPro? Is this some DSLR with an underwater housing on it, mirrorless? It's just a GoPro. You're getting
most of my stuff's GoPro.
That's
most
crazy.
Of my stuff's GoPro, and honestly, because we've shot some pretty high end stuff, red cams and stuff like that over the years above the water, and we really pushed it to try and. We had red with the housing and stuff, and it kind of sucks in freshwater. In saltwater, it works great, but in saltwater, you don't have all that particulate. The salt keeps it down. So in freshwater, you can almost, I believe, you can overdo a camera. Like you can get and if where you're talking about bait shots beside the boat, yeah, you can use some fancy cameras. You get to the greatest, most clearest water and look. But I think, again, I want a camera that's going to capture, like it's hard enough to get a creature to do it in front of your camera. The last thing you want to be like, oh, it froze or it did whatever. So a GoPro's a pretty, it delivers most of the time. So, yeah, but as far as how wide it is the true answer is never wide enough. Like always, the amount of shots. Like I should release a series one time. It'd actually be funny if I was like almost great shots. Like the amount of like where you see a fish come up, they're just like home, and they're just off to the edge. So and we're talking about getting a frog eat, which is honestly probably one of the hardest shots to get, because there's no movement. There's no, like, if it's an open water bait, you can run a camera under it and keep the bait moving. Like, you can, whether you're doing it beside the boat or whatever. So there's ways to do that. But when you're dealing with slop, like, I have hours of nothing happening, like hours of just seeing a frog continuously go over. It I actually kind of joked with Berkeley a couple of years ago when we were doing the new contract, and I said, "You guys love that footage I released, right?" I said, "Just so you know, I have twice as many shots of fish going."
Oh no!
Not true, Berkeley. That didn't. Those don't happen.
A blooper reel of underwater shots. Yeah, would be fantastic. So, set frog aside, though, what is the hardest shot you've ever tried to get? Like, something you've had in your mind where you're like, darn it, I want this shot. It could be because of a certain bait. It could be a certain situation. Is there one that you just banged your head up against a brick wall forever to finally get?
Yeah, I mean, almost all of them, to be honest. Like, I mean, the soft plastic baits are easier to get.
Yeah, I would assume like crank, all that kind of stuff is harder. Yeah.
Crankbait is hard. Glide bait, it was difficult to get a shot with. That was probably the one that I kind of worked on the longest. Any of those bigger baits, like, you think of how many times, like, you fish a glide bait, how many times does a fish turn away?
Yeah, a billion times. Yeah.
Well, now try doing it with a camera near enough to the bait. Like, so that was really challenging. But again, when it happens, it's like people that hunt for these crazy, you know what I mean? Like, I listen to Paul Nick and his stories about hunting in Idaho. Like, I always thought everyone just sat in a tree stand because that's what everyone does around here. And he's like, "Oh no, we hiked 27 miles today." And it's an extreme thing. But that's what the high with it comes. But yeah, that was definitely probably the toughest shots, I'd say.
What's the biggest high you've got in terms of a shot that just turned out perfect? Like, all right, I make you take one clip to submit to the Smithsonian of underwater shots. What's your favorite shot you've ever taken?
That's really hard. I'd have to look through them, but gosh, there's a lot of them. There's a lot, like, where you're just like, holy crap, that just happened. Oh, for sure. And this wasn't even a bait shot. This was two fish. I have a largemouth and a smallmouth that are chasing a live minnow, and they actually collided, and the smallmouth's head got stuck in the largemouth, and they kind of locked onto each other, and then kind of went loose, and you actually see, like, the largemouth turns to the camera and goes, like, with its jaw. It's just, which also to me proved, like, how often you see in Mexico and stuff, it seems hard, like, not just Mexico, but big fish factories, you see that dead fish that's got another bass in its mouth. And we've always been like, well, they don't know each other. They don't have size perception. And I've heard all sorts of things. I don't believe that. I 100% believe that happens when they're feeding, like in a feeding frenzy, and they're going nuts. And every once in a while, one gets jammed in the other, and then they get stuck there, and it chokes to death. Because I've also had that happen. Like, they don't often get locked like that, but I've seen them come, and they just come within inches and then just turn away. So yeah, no, that'd be probably the coolest shot. I'd say that, there's a lot of, and there's another shot that I've got several times, which is also, see, I told you I have a lazy memory until I start talking about stuff I don't know, but several shots of a fish eating a live minnow or whatever, and another fish comes up behind it, and while its mouth is open, and goes and sucks the minnow through the gills back out the other side, which, again, I think we're going to start a series where we do this kind of thing and explain what I believe. And it could be totally wrong, but it's just my belief. I'm not a biologist. But think of how many times you're fighting a fish and another fish comes up beside it. And we always think he's trying to steal the bait out of his mouth. I don't think they are. I think they're literally, because I have footage of fish coming up behind the other fish, and they're trying to suck whatever it's eaten through their gills. I think they do it all the time. And And that totally explains why you have all those fish that are cracking. Sometimes you hook them and sometimes you don't. But if you look where that fish is targeting, a lot of times we say it's chasing the bait, but it's not really at the bait. It's kind of back at the fish. I think they're trying to suck the bait through the gills. I mean, they're trying to mama bird baits. So there's a bunch of wild ones like that. But honestly, it's you don't know. Like the coolest ones are not even ones that are set up. Like it's stuff like that you're just like, holy crap. Like I swear to you that happened. And there's weird things like a lot of times it happens and you don't even know it happened. Like it's so quick. Like when you see that, it's slow-mo and you see them kind of turning. But when it happened, I was like, whoa, those two just came together like for a split. Like it didn't seem. And then you go home and you're like,
review the footage.
Wow, that really works. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about something that's not, at least not impressive to me, but I don't know. I'd like to hear your opinion on this. Does it bug you as much as it bugs me, these companies and product shoots that are almost 1,000% specifically using bedding smallmouth bass for their marketing videos?
Yeah. I mean, and hey, I'll say this. I've shot stuff off of beds. I mean, in areas where it's legal, I've shot stuff off of beds. I don't, the majority of my stuff is not from beds. I mean, and I'll admit, like if somebody says that's from a bed, I'll be like, yeah, that's a bed. I mean, generally you can't hide it.
You can tell right away.
It's the easiest time to get that kind of footage. But I do find it weird when you have to be a weirdo. And there's lots of weirdos in everything, but you have to love it because you do see situations where people are like, you're like, that same fish literally ate your whole 2025 offering. Like every new bait you're coming out with,
that happened
every
this
color.
Year. Yeah, there is a brand that did that. The same fish. I have a problem with it when you're trying to use it to show the effectiveness of your new baits. That's when I have a problem with it because I could throw anything down there on a 1/0 hook and that fish will come over and, attack it or peck it if you piss it off long enough. Like the disingenuousness, I guess, is the thing that kind of gets me sometimes. And I feel bad because you talk about you go into like an expo or something where we are the crazy 1% of fishing and the other 99% is like, there's a lot of like ugly stick guys on the weekends and stuff. And they don't know the difference between a fish that's on a bed eating that bait or a really sporting shot of a more of a roaming fish eating that bait. And they're the ones that get targeted and I think a little bit duped with that type of marketing. And I think sometimes that bugs me, maybe a little bit more than it should, but just as someone who is so inundated with everything, it does bug me.
I get that. But I also think that, for the most part, the baits work. Smallmouth will eat it. They're using the bed because they're trying to get a footage. You know what I mean? Like they're not, like, I get where you're coming from totally. And trust me, there's been lots of it, but you also look at other parts of TV or movies or anything. It's all fake. Like literally the dog running through the field. They waited till the perfect light but in fishing, it's weird. We have a different standard, which I think is cool. I like that. But yeah, I should just shut up because you're defending my case and I appreciate
it. I don't think we're alone in that. Because I think what happened is I think people saw people like you, really cool underwater baits, and then people want to try and replicate that, and it is a very monkey see, monkey do industry, and people try that, and what's the easiest way to get the shot that Dave Mercer spent, 18 hours trying to get? It's, wait till spring when that fish is on a bed and I can get it to eat whatever I want. So
the funniest thing about the underwater stuff, I'll tell you this story too. I almost quit uploading it. And this is a lesson for people that are like making content. So I was shooting underwater stuff. I was obsessed with it. We were shooting it for the show. Like I've just always felt like the more levels of fishing you can show, like the more it's what we've always wanted to see. So you know what I mean? Like I just feel like there's no such thing as too much underwater. Like I've never ever got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to see another fish eat. So I was always obsessed with it, but I didn't really have a home for it. We used it in the show, but there was so much, like I was so obsessed with it. So I started posting it on YouTube and I swear to you, it was like 3 months and like they were getting no traffic and I was posting them like every day. And I literally was to the point that I was like, what am I doing? I mean, nobody's even watching these. And I was just like, I was literally, you know, when you're going through that, you're like, I think I'm gonna. And then one video kind of popped off, and I was like, oh, and it was from like 2 months before, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Got lucky on that one. Oh, maybe I'll keep posting for another week. And then another video popped off, and then thank God they did. Like, which is a real lesson, like how easy it is to quit on something. And thank God I didn't, because I mean, people have seen more fish eat baits on my channel than they've ever seen of me.
Well, but
right? Like
that stuff is tailor made for how media works in 2025, though. Our attention spans have gotten smaller. We're consuming things in 5-second clips, and that is just what you do is tailor made for 5-second clip to watch. And I watch that 5-second clip 78 times over and over again before I scroll to the next thing. Like, I just sit there for 7 minutes and watch this fish eat this bait over and over and over again. So yeah, it's a testament to how we have started to consume fishing media too, and I think that is definitely a route that things have gone. It's like, yeah, it might be frustrating to spend that much time to get that shot, but now that shot's not buried in a 35-minute episode anymore. That shot lives on its own and gets watched over and over and over again. And I think that's a cool story too, is like media changes.
Yeah, it's wild. There's shots that I have as an angler that you want to show the lead up, like you want to show the fish swim in and do its thing. And I mean, I do at times, but I also do it knowing that this isn't going to get as much traffic. If I just shorten this right down to like people they want, give me the money shot. They don't want, there's no foreplay anymore in our sport. How do I know that's going to get clipped?
Print the shirts right now. Dave Mercer store. Bring back. Okay, last subtopic here, I guess. I want to go into a little bit of elite stuff really fast. So, 2025, the season ends. Obviously, you are alongside every step of the way. We talked about it earlier. Like, it is tough for people to consume every little bit of the Elite Series season. What was your favorite moment this year from the Elite Series?
Oh, gosh, that's such a... It seems like it should be a really easy thing to answer, but as soon as I always answer it, I'm like, nah, there was that. That was pretty cool. I mean, there were so many, like, through my head, there's so many little flashes of different things, you know, like Welcher with the mega bag, you know what I mean? Breaking a record that, like, nobody thought. Like, when Patrick Walters broke that record and won by 29 pounds, he did that. That was the unearthing of forward-facing sonar. He used a technology that nobody was using, people didn't understand, and did something that, like, half of a percent of people that ever fished that lake were doing. Like, he unearthed something, so it makes total sense. It's 29 pounds. But for Kyle Welcher to go to an event that everybody ran miles, and he never went to a gas station all week, he did it right there and won. Not just one, but won by 45 pounds is incredible to me. The Paul Nick situation with all those guys sharing that area on Okeechobee was incredible. Like, there was again, if they had a fought, it would have been one of the most famous scenes of the year, but they got along, and people don't pick up on that. I know it's not elites, but Easton's last minute fish catch, just ridiculous. There were so many. I think the last couple of hours of Trey McKinney and Chris Johnson was one of the most exciting moments. Like, when you're like, oh my God, Trey McKinney snuck in. Like, you thought it was over. Like, the Angler of the Year race is over. Well, Trey finishes 50th in a tie, I believe, with, who was it? With, Greg DePalma. Greg DePalma and him were tied, I believe, and that's why, and he beat him on the tiebreaker. So Trey got in 50th. So now he's got a life, and then throughout the day, he's catching him, and Chris is struggling, and you're like, oh my God, is this kid gonna pull this off? Like, that was some of the coolest stuff. To see Schlapper win in front of his hometown crowd was one of my favorite weigh-in moments. Like, he's salt of the earth. So many really cool moments, like Tucker winning on Mother's Day, you know, the prodigy of Aaron Martins, you know, and Aaron, the most synonymous pro with his mother, won on Mother's Day in Havasu, and for Tucker to win his first event, that was was wild. I'm going through every event. The low and win to start off the season. The fact that we had 3 different times this year, we had 30 plus pounds weighed in on a crankbait. And everybody's like, crankbaits are dead. Well, not if you talk to Brandon Polnick and John Garrett and the guys who weighed in 30 pounds on freaking crankbaits. So, yeah, there was a lot of good moments.
So you mentioned, obviously, the AOI race at the end of the year, too. Maybe you can talk me off the ledge here. Do you think that the rules of, or how Angler of the Year is determined should require, like, you have to make a top 10 to be Angler of the Year? Like,
No,
not at all. Blind resume. You have Angler 1, who had, 1 win, 5 top 10s, and 6 top 20s. And you have Angler 2, who had 0 wins, 0 top 10s, 5 top 20s.
Yeah. I just watched a football game on the weekend, and one team scored points in all 4 quarters, but the other team only scored points in the 4th quarter. And guess what? The team that scored the points in the 4th quarter still won.
Thank you. All right, I'm stepping back from the ledge.
That's just, and right away, because I'm saying this, people are going to be like, he's defending Chris Johnson because they're from the same country. Trust me, the last dude I'm going to defend is Chris Johnson. He doesn't need any defending. Yeah. But I just think that the finish line is the finish line. Like, that's how it is. Like, dude, if a guy leads the 100-meter for 95 of those meters in the Olympics and he is way ahead, and then somebody comes from last place and passes him, that's what happens. You don't, and I get it. It was so weird. And trust me, the first guy that mentioned that is Chris. Like, when I had him on the podcast, he said it was the weirdest angler. I don't feel like I had a good season, but he just kept hanging out there. And guess what? I had more points than anybody else. Like, I think it is a weird one. I don't think it's something we see often, but I don't think you change the rules, because I think anytime you get away from straight points, it becomes hokey. It becomes no different than in football if you said now touchdowns for the 4th quarter are worth 14 points. Or you have to, like, if you just kick field goals, or if you just kick field goals the whole game and you never get a touchdown, you can still win the freaking game.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah. I just have, my brain cannot wrap around when we look back in 20 years and you say who was the best angler on tour that year. As an outsider looking in, like, I think it's a weird thing to think about.
Yeah, but you work in baseball. That's like saying you can't win a baseball game if you don't hit a home run.
No, it's an individual award. There are stipulations for individual awards. You have to play X number of games. You have to do there are criteria, and you get to set what that criteria is as long as everybody's playing by the same rules.
But that's also you're talking about MVP, which is a voted on thing. This is a mathematical. You get a point for finishing last. You get 100 points for finishing first. The person with the most points wins. And trust me, Trey McKinney's season stood out incredible, but he had some bombs. Chris never finished outside of 31st. Like, it was just a weird year that way. But I get where you're coming from. But I just, anything else you do, I think becomes hokey.
It's not as pure. I get it for sure. Yeah.
No.
Right now, it is as pure as can be.
Yeah. It's wild. And it also amazes me. What Chris Johnson's done is incredible. What Trey McKinney's done is unworldly. Like, he doesn't know what it's like to finish out as the top 2 for Angler of the Year. Just say that to yourself. And he's 20 freaking years old. That's, like, I don't give a crap what people say. He's great with forward facing sun or whatever. Dude, the 20-year-old version of me is an absolute basket case if I have to deal with half the stuff. Like, I would literally be laying in the fetal position, sucking my thumb. Like, it's what we're seeing. Also, here's my prediction of Trey McKinney. 5 years from now, he will be one of the most popular people in the sport, and everybody will deny ever disliking him.
Yeah. I want on record that I've been on the Trey McKinney truther train for a while at this point. But yeah, it's okay. Here's an interesting question. Trey McKinney, Easton Fothergill, Tucker Smith. When their careers are over, who has more wins?
Oh, boy, that's freaking tough. That's an impossible thing to answer. Gosh. I don't know that anyone can answer that with any kind of education. I think anybody, you could make a case for any one of them. Like you could literally, if you said, pull straws, you're going to represent Tucker, I'm going to represent Trey. Both of us could make a case that if you really wanted to yell loud enough and stick with it long enough, it would be totally believable. And the same thing for Easton. Like if I'm in my head, I'm like, well, one of them's won the Classic already, but he's also won 2 Opens. He's also won the Angler of the Year title in the EQs. He also won the Collegiate Championship. You know, and then the other one, well, he doesn't even know what it's like to be out of second place for Angler of the Year. 2 years in a row, he had a bomb, whether it be through showing up late or just not catching him in a tournament that would have won him Angler of the Year, walking away. But he is reigning Rookie of the Year. He finished second in his very first Bassmaster Classic. He's won 2 Bassmaster Elite Series events. He's the youngest ever to qualify, the youngest ever to do it. And then there's Tucker Smith, who has won 2 tournaments cumulatively for $1 million. I mean, he was the perennial second place guy, which is fitting because he is the mentor of Deuce himself. You know, he finished second in 2 Opens. He finished second twice in the collegiate thing to go to the Bassmaster Classic. And the most amazing thing about Tucker Smith is he's actually going to fish his first Bassmaster Classic, which sounds broken because he's accomplished so much already. There's no educated answer to that. They're all going to end up with a cooler full of meat. And I don't know who wins.
Does your answer change, or do you have an answer if I change it to not wins, but Anglers of the Year?
No, it doesn't. Because I thought about that. Initially, I'm like, well, Tucker and Trey, you know, they seem to stand out there. But then I'm like, well, Easton won Angler of the Year before. You can't judge this past season. And he still recovered and did. I mean, people said there's no way he's qualifying. Obviously, he's going to defend his title and he'll be in the Classic, but there's no way. And dude, I mean, there was time where he was like almost in conversation for Rookie of the Year. Like what he did, he railed off 5 straight top 10s from the Classic. Like there's no educated answer to that.
I think that's going to be your 3-headed monster of youth right now, right? And there is a lot of other youth out there that, I mean, the past 2-3 years of rookies are incredible, but I just keep stepping back and be like how lucky we are to have some of these people in their first couple years, and they're set up, like if all goes right, and, you know, these 3 and, you know, the other probably 5 or 6 that I can think of right off the top of my head are in, you know, the Elite Series for 20 years, incredible.
Oh,
what could happen? You're setting up for rivalries. You're setting up for, like, it's not top heavy. You've got, you know, 5 to 10 people that any given week could do it. And they're all superstar phenoms. And who the heck knows who's coming in the next 2, 3, 4 years?
It's crazy. It's crazy. It feels like, I've used this analogy before, but it feels like MMA. I'm a big MMA fan. And for several, you know, when I first got into it, you had strikers and you had wrestlers and you had, you know, Muay Thai guys, jiu-jitsu guys, different people who did different fighting. And that was how it started. They wanted to see which the most, you know, effective way of fighting was. But then it slowly evolved. And then you had these kids that started coming, and they weren't wrestlers, they weren't strikers, they were MMA fighters, and they were balanced in every level. And that's what it feels like now. Like we have kids, Denny Brower, Rick Clunn, Kevin Van Dam, Mike Iaconelli, they just fished. And at some point in their life, they were like, oh, there's these tournaments. Oh, I'm going to enter a tournament and see how I do. And guess what? They did good. And then they entered more tournaments. And then they thought, well, I could maybe do this as a living. You know, maybe I'm going to, and that's what created them. Now we have kids who get into fishing because they want to be tournament anglers. Like it's
from age 8. Like,
yeah,
it's all they want to do.
And in every other sport, when that happens, it's pretty crazy. You know what I mean? Like the golfers that came before Tiger. And I hate to even make this analogy because people are like, oh, you're just blowing up the young guys because I think that what a lot of the older guys have done is incredible too. But I think you have to respect what you're seeing, and you're seeing kids that because of the work of the older guys are coming here so prepared. Like it's stupid how prepared they are. Like you don't see like a good rookie of the year for years was a guy who just made the classic. Like guy finished 38th in points and he's your rookie of the year and he's a standout because nobody's even close. For the last 4 years, they've been battling for angler of the year. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's and people have pointed that again at forward facing and hey, we're going to find out. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, we got a little test sample at Gunnersville, and Tucker did all right in that one. And I'm excited to find out. Like, I initially wasn't like a huge. My initial thought on it with Bass was I wanted us to do the shortened time period. That's what I pushed. Like before MLF did it or anything, I wanted us to do a power hour at the end of the day, and I thought it'd be cool because it gives everyone a chance to. Like, I wanted us to set the time, so all day on TV we could be like, about at 2:00. Like, you might love Hackney, and you're a Hackney fan. You've watched him throw a jig all day, and it's awesome. And you're like, Hackney's got 23 pounds, and you're a huge Hackney fan. But if all day you heard at 1:00. Kyoya.
Yeah, Kyoya's
he's going to get
yeah.
his 2 hours. And you know what Kyoya can do in 2 hours? Even if you're a Hackney fan, you want to see what Kyoya does because now you're cheering almost against him. You know what I mean? And we've never had that in the sport, but we didn't go that way. And the way we're going wasn't what I had thought initially, but what I love about it is I'm excited to see, like, all of a sudden, like after the coin flip and whatever you think of any of that, the second that ended, I thought one thing and I'm like, am I more excited about next year now or was I more excited before? And the answer with almost anybody is like, I'm excited to see this year, whether you're a forward-facing sonar guy or not. I mean, Gunnersville's going to be so different, but so cool. It's going to be, and we're going to see, and there's going to be pressure on all of them. There's going to be pressure on the young guys to show, and guess what? There's going to be pressure on the older guys too, because on the ones where there is no forward-facing sonar,
you better show out on that one. You've been complaining for a while. Like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of storylines that you just haven't had in the past years and years and years. As far as the anglers themselves, you see a lot more than we do on like the fan interaction and before and after weigh-ins and all of those. There's the success on the leaderboard, and then there are the people who the fans gravitate toward and just love. Who would you say are like top 5 people that you see like out there with the fans that they're the ones that have the lines, the ones that people want to take their picture with and get their autograph, and like, you know, they're bombarding when they come off stage? Who are the most popular anglers on tour right now?
Iaconelli, obviously. Swindle, obviously. I mean, a lot of the older guys, Hackney. And I hate, it's a bad situation to answer because I'm forgetting about certain people, and I'm certain, but I would say they all stand out. Polnick. Trey's getting this, you know what I mean? Like, you're hearing more and more. Another guy that doesn't get, and I would say he's a standout star right now, because another way that I judge it isn't just lineups. Another way that I judge it is I stand on stage, so I get a good perspective of how the crowd reacts to everyone in every different venue. Obviously, when we're in your home state, they're going to cheer for you. That's simple. But the true Takumi,
yeah,
I mean, he's huge. But the other guy that I was going to mention is Lee Livesey. Lee has a great connection and a great following everywhere we go. Like, and you really hear it. And I think families think they got to judge, but guess what? At the Classic, you're surrounded by your family. So you think everyone's cheering for your guy. But there is certain people, and what they all have in common is one thing. They're real. Like, they honestly, if you think of everybody that I mentioned, you know who they are. You know, Carl Jacobson, you see Carl Jacobson makes an impact every time he's on camera, whether he catches them or not, you're cheering for him, you're crushed with him. Like they're real. They give them something to hold on to. And it's to me, that's the key. Like, and I think there's going to be people come along like Swindle that is a stand-up comic. Of course, the crowd loves him. Not everybody's Swindle, but you don't have to be. You can be Takumi. You can Seth Fighter. There's another guy in that list that should be way up that list. Matt Robertson, what he's done in such a short period of time is incredible. But they give the fans something to hold on to. And I think that it's hard to do because it takes confidence and some people have it. I mean, the number one fear on earth is public speaking. Let's be realistic. Like more people are scared of public speaking than snakes, which is stupid because I'm deathly afraid of snakes and I have no problem talking clearly. But so it's a tough thing to do. But I also think if you want to look at our young anglers, we ain't doing them right. We're doing them dirty. Because think about it.
This is where I was going to go with this.
Right?
Yeah.
Confidence is what makes you okay at speaking. Well, if you're Easton Fothergill and you've done everything he did and you achieved your dream, you won the Bassmaster Classic, and you go online and all you hear is hate and people tearing him down, do you want to put yourself out there or do you just want to put your hood up and fish? And in some situations, our young guys need to speak more. But in a lot of situations, if you're being realistic, if that was your kid, do you think it's fair? And we're not helping build that.
This is why you're so good at what you do, because you took us to where I was going to go with this, which is,
I'm sorry.
No, it's great because it's right. So the people you mention, Ike, Swindle, Hack, Taku, Lee, Maddie, Fighter, like all those type of people, it's personality, it's connection. And I mean this, and I don't think it's their fault, but I think a lot of the youth, we do have a personality problem. We have like a connection problem. We have and you're right. I think that's why it's the people when they get real defensive and they don't want the youth coming in. Well, it's because the youth are going to push out these, 10 people that you just mentioned that are of the previous generation, right? And that's why they get salty and they haven't connected with the youth like they have these older guys yet. And yeah, it's a tough situation to be in. I think that's where some of the animosity for the young guys come in because they know, oh, okay, well, if the young guys are coming in and kicking my favorite 12 anglers, on the leaderboard, well, I know what that means long term is that the guard is changing. And, there will be a time where I will go to an Elite Series event and I can't meet Ike and Ellie. I can't see Swindle on stage. I can't. And so there is a little bit of that. I think it's an interesting thing to think about. And it's, but to your point, if I am some of these young guys, I've seen what the internet does to people and I am putting my hood up and I am going to go out and fish and let my fishing do the talking. And it's a hard position to be put in, I think.
It's weird, but it's also natural, like on both ends. It's natural for people to feel the way they feel. Like if you're being honest, and I always try to think of things and I remove myself. If I think in fishing, it's all too personal. The split proved that. It was heartbreaking to people that worked in the industry because you're like, I mean, I thought I was going to retire with Kevin and everybody. Like that was our group. You know what I mean? And then it all changed, and it was hard. But if I look at other sports, me and my son watched a lot of basketball together. Until the day I die, I'll say the greatest of all time is Michael Jordan. No matter how many arguments he puts in front of me, he's wrong. It's Michael Jordan. And until the day my son dies, it will always be LeBron James. And no matter how many times I'm like, yeah, but in every championship, Kevin, I'll try to insert Kevin there, but in every championship, Michael Jordan.
Freudian slip there.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
But in every championship, Michael Jordan won, and and we both argue, and guess what? We're both right. That's almost natural. You're supposed to like your generation's thing, and I think to usher out the older guys is, to say, well, who cares? They've been around long enough is ridiculous and horrible. But I also think it's horrible not to appreciate the young guys and what they're doing and they're chasing their dream. And yeah, they're doing it with forward-facing sonar, and yeah, there's college fishing, but they're fishing with exactly what they had. And the whole way along, guess what? Kevin was fishing with crap that people before him didn't have. Rick was fishing with crap that people before him didn't. Well, there was nobody before Rick.
Yeah.
But
The sentiment is true, yeah.
I mean, it's. I saw Joe Montana, who I was a huge fan of growing up. He's the reason I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and I saw him in an interview, and I was actually really upset about it because he started going off about today's quarterbacks, and they couldn't do what if he played under today's rules, he would have had so many more yards and so many. And I was like, that's probably true, but it's not fair because guess what? If the person that was before Bart Starr or whoever was before Joe Montana, he played with a friggin' leather helmet. If he had an actual helmet with technology, he probably would have done a lot more. Like, that's just how things progress.
Okay. Last small tangent I want to go down here really fast, and this is tackle talk. We weren't going to let you get out here without talking some tackle. I just want to go down the list of kind of some basic things, and I don't think I've ever actually asked you on gear side of things what you really like and prefer to throw. Now, I know obviously there's sponsor stuff in there and stuff too, but, let's start with like a rod. What is your favorite rod in your lineup right now? Your house is on fire. You can go in and grab one. What rod are you picking?
That's such a hard question. And that's the only question you told me you were going to ask.
Yeah.
So I actually grabbed a couple of rods. And it's such a hard question.
I prefaced one question. What's your favorite rod? The other hour and a half was a total crapshoot.
So I started thinking, like, what is my favorite rod? And I'm like, I love throwing a frog. I love doing all different, but I love drop shot. And so I thought, like, it's so hard to answer. I think it's to steal a line from Pat McAfee, situations are situational. And it's such a true line. But I'm like, right now, you would have a hard time getting this out of my hand. And it's, a swim jig. I mean, it's just like, to me, it is the most addictive bite there is. Like, if you can catch, I've got a few lakes I fish close to here that are kind of rock lakes at rock weed line, and they get super shallow this time of year, and you just roll along with 30-pound test braid and smallmouth aren't near as tough on it, but it's my favorite way to fish. And I fish it on a Benacista X. It's a, what is this, 7.3? No, 7.6, medium heavy.
Okay.
So I'm throwing braided line on it, and that is my go-to this time of year. Like, if I had to grab one rod, I'm probably going to catch more fish on that this time of year than anything else. But then if I go to the Great Lakes, I'd really like a drop shot rod, and that's the problem. Like, it's why you have so many freaking rods, because it's hard to but this time of year, it's the thing I've done most recently, and it's probably the thing I'll do next. But that's where I'd go to.
How many rods do you have?
Personal question, Andrew.
Uh-huh. We asked the tough stuff here. This is the hard-hitting questions on Tackle Talk. Do you have a problem? How many rods do you? How many rods do you use? Not how many do you have? How many are actively used within the past year?
Oh, I would say 50 plus would be used. I would say, okay. Which blew me away, because I actually did a thing with Brian New this week, and he said he uses 50. He has 50 rods rigged for every single tournament. I'm like, there's not 50 different ones every tournament, but the fact that you bring 50 rods to a tournament, but I'm going to say 50 rods start the year, because you're doing so many different things. If you're slop fishing, you've got a whole different setup. If you go to Lake Erie, you got all your smallmouth stuff, and it's totally different. And so, but I'd say conservatively, 50 combos throughout the year.
What reel did you have on that combo you just held up? If I ask you favorite reel at the moment, is it going to be the reel you have on that setup, obviously, since that's what you're liking to do at the moment?
No. Actually, this is a great reel. It's a Xeon. Stand by. Make some music. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to say
he's going to say Zeta before he puts it back on.
Remember this.
Is it Zeta?
It is.
Yeah.
It
okay.
Totally is the same.
I said I want this on record before he comes back. My guess is Zeta. Yeah.
It's just a great reel to me.
What, $170, whatever they are? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a workhorse course. And it's kind of like this generation's green Corrado, if you ask me. I mean, it's if I was getting into tournament fishing, I'd buy a raft of those because they deliver.
Line choice, fluoro. Let's start with fluoro. What's your go-to? Just every day. I don't know if you have a difference between bottom contact and moving bait fluorocarbons that you like to use, but what do you typically spool up?
I'm not that hardcore. I'll be honest.
Okay, all right.
I did a thing a few weeks ago for Official and Unofficial where we did knots, and Tucker Smith started talking about, well, I tie this knot for bottom baits, and I tie this knot for moving baits.
I'm like, there's more than 2 knots? What are you talking about?
I tie a polymer?
Yeah, I tie a polymer and a double uni, and that's, I go fishing. That's it.
So I'm right there with you. So I don't have different fluoros. I mean, they use 100% fluoro. Berkeley's 100% fluoro. I am a big braid guy, though. I'll be honest. Me and John Cox, I'm name dropping a lot in this podcast, but we had a whole conversation about it this week and how we are both, like, to me, it's just braid fluoro. You just can't beat it. Like, and I've had certain situations where, and it's very rare, like sometimes on Lake Erie when it's super flat, a guy with straight fluoro will get a few more bites than you. And I can't explain why, but to me, it's just braid fluoro is just, it's so good. It just feels nice. It's just like when I set the hook, I feel like even if I go straight fluoro, I mean, I've caught hundreds, thousands of fish on straight fluoro, but it still doesn't ever feel like, I still feel like I've got to, like, it just.
Once you're used to braid, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm stuck. I mean, it's like 60-year-old men taking testosterone replacement therapy. Once you start it, you can't get off it. And I'm that way with braid. I'm on the TRT.
Braid is the TRT of the fishing world. There we go.
It's true. If you go to LA, dude, there's 60-year-old men that look like they're 30.
It's because they've been using braid for 10 years.
They're on that braid.
What about your favorite jig at the moment?
Favorite jig is that swim jig I showed you, Berkeley swim jig. But I like the pure fishing stuff that they came out with. I think they've got good jigs. I've always been a weirdo with jigs. Like, I think people get so crazy about jigs. Like,
yeah, it can be overkill for sure. Yeah.
Like, it is a piece of lead with a hook and a skirt. Like, I have caught fish on some of the ugliest jigs. Like, I think as long as it's got a good hook and a good design to get a good hook up, jigs are kind of jigs, but it's super personal. Like I got buddies who get custom handmade jigs, and they believe they get more bites on them, and that's fishing, right?
What trailer are you typically like? I couldn't see was that a Shape?
Yeah.
Was it what do they call it? The Shape 108 or whatever?
Shape 108.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just it does everything. Like, and that came from shooting underwater. To be honest, I was a big rocket craw guy for a while and stuff. And this is more consistent. The rocket craw rolls over at times and it's got its place, but I just think that this does exactly what it's meant to do. And that's just kind of paddle its way back to the boat. Very little. You don't have to move it fast. Like, a lot of the swim jigging that I'm doing this time of year is real slow, like really slow.
Okay.
And you just
crawling it almost. Yeah. All right. Shape 108 on the back of a Berkeley jig. What about favorite worm overall? Confidence worm, I guess.
I was a big robo worm guy for a long time. Like, I really love robo worms. Everybody loves robo worms. Do I have to run back at my shop? I'm doing it. I'll be back. Stand by. More music. Okay, what'd you think it was?
All right, ready? My guess was the General.
No.
Okay.
Wrong. Hitworm.
Okay. Skinny, slender, a bunch of different ways you can rig it. You can throw that on just about anything. You can drop shot it. You can throw it on a jig head. You can throw it on a shaky head. You can EWG it if you want. Yeah. Very versatile.
It's just a great worm. Really, really, really cool worm. And it just seems to always get bit, similar to the General. Like, it's just one of those baits that caught largemouth on it, smallmouth on it. It's just, if you go to a lake and you're not getting bit, it kind of gets bit.
I have also, I've never been the giant guy that puts so much stock in scent and all that kind of stuff, but I've had days where I've got my teeth kicked in by someone right beside me throwing max scent or throwing power bait or something. I'm like, I should have done it. I should have listened to these people. Nope. Too stubborn. Here I am with my unscented whatever. And who knows if that's the reason behind it. But you do have those days where you're like, should have listened.
It matters.
Should have listened to Mark Sexton. Dang it.
No, it matters. And I've proved it to myself with shooting underwater stuff. There's times that I'm, I'll have fish that are eating, power bait, and they'll stop. And then I'll throw max scent and they eat it. Like, it just shocks the crap out of me because you think they're, you'll take a bedding fish and repeatedly be able to get it to keep eating because you're throwing max scent. But I made the same mistake when power bait first came out. That's how old I am. I was fishing. And at the time we were throwing like culprit and crap like that. And then this new bait comes out, power bait, and everyone's like, oh, it's great. And I was an arrogant young tournament pro. And I was like, I catch plenty of fish on my culprit. So I continued to throw it and never threw it. And 2 years after it was introduced, I was fishing a tournament with a guy who had it. And he was hammering them, and I started using it. I'm like, oh my God, the fish really don't let go of it. Like, and I remember it for that very reason. I try stuff really quick now because I literally was like, don't power bait me again.
Yeah, don't be too proud to try the new thing. All right, last one here for you. What's your favorite topwater of all time?
Oh, favorite topwater. I'm a lazy guy, so I'm going a plopper bait. I mean, Chapo. Yeah, no, it's throwing like so much. My crew is like idiots. Pick something else up. Like, I just love it.
A bone 90 Chapo. Yeah, just over and over and over again.
Easy. I used to be a big popper guy, and I still don't mind popper baits, but I just find it's I can cover twice as much water. It's a fun bait. I mean, and I'm a creature of comfort. I kind of tie one on at the beginning of years. It stays on, and it always seems to come out.
Have you played around with the screaming one?
I have. I find it's more successful in dirty water, is my experience so far. Like, I think in some of the super clear bodies of water that I fish in, and I fish a lot because I'm shooting a lot of underwater, I stick with the regular one. And there's going to be, there's situations where it works everywhere, but I just have had more success. I kind of equate it more to like buzzbait water. Like, where I throw a buzzbait, that's where I throw the Screaming Chapo.
All right. I appreciate you giving us all this time here today. I want to congratulate you. Probably the longest episode of Tackle Talk,
God, it was
maybe
long.
Ever. You might have the record. I'll have to go back and do some digging and take some look. We're usually, pretty tight, but when you have someone like Dave Mercer that, you can have a great conversation with for, I guess, the better part of 2 hours now. Sorry about that. When I took the time on your schedule, I did not tell you that part. But we appreciate you, Dave. Thank you so much. Before we let you go, where should folks keep up with what you're doing? Whether it's, there's a billion different places they can go to keep up with Dave Mercer, too. You are the busiest man in fishing, probably. Where would you want to direct people to if you want to pick a couple of the 10,000 places that you are at any given time?
Like, as far as locations or online, you mean?
Online.
Yeah,
to check
okay.
stuff out. Yeah.
Come on over to my house. I live at...
We dox you to end the show.
No, but obviously YouTube, at Facts of Fishing on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I should be so much smoother at this.
Well, let's be honest. If you're listening to Tackle Talk, you already know who he is and where he's at.
I hope so. But, please, would you?
Well, Dave, thank you so much. As always, we appreciate your time. Welcome back anytime. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That is the one and only Dave Mercer. All right, everybody, that is our episode today with Dave Mercer. I think at the end there, Dave was either too humble or too forgetful, I'm not sure which one, to shout out every place that you can actually find him and keep up with him, so I will do that for him right now. Be sure to check out Facts of Fishing, the TV show, Facts of Fishing, the YouTube channel. Tune into the Mercer podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platforms for great raw conversations with some of your favorite anglers. Also, be sure to check out Officially Unofficial. That's his newest podcast through Bassmaster where they approach a bunch of different topics with multiple pro guests on every episode. You can find him at Facts of Fishing on Instagram, Dave Mercer's Facts of Fishing on Facebook, or factsofishing.com. And there are probably like hundreds more that I'm forgetting, but those are the ones that come to mind real quick when I think of where to find Dave Mercer. But thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. You guys are the best. If you want to keep up with everything that we're doing here at Tackle Talk, you can find us at tackletalkpodcast.com or on Facebook or Instagram at Tackle Talk Podcast. And we'll see you right back here next Tuesday for another brand new episode of Tackle Talk.
Thank you for listening to the Tackle Talk Podcast. Tackle Talk is produced by Andrew Hayes. Copyright 2019. For more, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.